Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing volume 27 in the series Komi Can't Communicate by Tomohito Oda. This is what the cover looks like. It has Komi as well as some of her female friends that she has gotten to know through the past 26 volumes, and we are going to discuss what happens in this volume and what I think about it. So stay tuned. First of all though, if you are new here, I post new book reviews almost every single day on both fiction and nonfiction books, so if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to stick around. Now, Komi Can't Communicate volume 27. So there's a couple key plot points in this book. I do tend to find that these Komi volumes tend to have some bigger plot moments, 1 or 2 or 3 interspersed throughout the volume, then surrounded by little tiny interludes of her or other characters that we know interacting with each other in the book. So the main plot points in volume 27 revolve around Komi getting her first smartphone. So Komi has a flip phone, which is something that she got recently. Before she had friends in high school, she had no need for a phone, and her parents got her a flip phone. Unfortunately, at the very beginning of this, she drops the phone in the bathtub, as we can see in these panels here, which this is my number one fear. I'm not sure how brave Komi was to even have her phone in the bath, because water and phones, I have never dropped my phone in water, but it is a fear that I have, so I try to keep them separated. But Komi winds up destroying her flip phone, which is a little bit upsetting, not only because of the fact that this phone is her main line of communication, but also because there's a lot of memories associated with this flip phone, which is evidenced when the store associate, when she goes to get her new phone, asks if she would like to recycle the old phone, and she remembers all of these moments that she's had with this old flip phone. She chooses to keep the flip phone, but her parents decide that she could get a smartphone. She gets this smartphone, and this kind of opens up the world for her. I actually had a flip phone for a little bit before moving to a smartphone, and it definitely is a big upgrade when you move. So she has the moments where she goes to school, she's getting everyone's new contact information or re-getting everyone's contact information. She's having her friends send photos of them from the past 26 volumes to her phone so she can have pictures that she doesn't have anymore because the last phone got destroyed in the bathtub. And that's kind of a sweet moment when all her friends come together to kind of fill up her new phone with memories and contacts so she can continue on. But there's another aspect in that now that she has a smartphone, she can join in things like online games and join all these apps that she couldn't with her flip phone, just because the flip phone didn't have the capacity to do so. The main plot point in the middle is she's joining online games with her friends and playing with all of her classmates and getting to know them. So the game that's being referenced in this volume is clearly Among Us. That was that popular mobile game. I'm sure every single person played it in 2020. I played it in 2020. Everyone I know played it in 2020. But of course, I assume because of copyright reasons and branding reasons, they can't call it Among Us, so they give it another name. But it's Among Us, which is a social deduction game where you have to determine who amongst you is an imposter. There's plenty of games like this that aren't just video games. It just is a game that blew up in 2020. I don't know why I'm going over this. Every single person knows what Among Us is, and if you don't, a quick Google search will fill you in on all the details. Basically, Komi's playing this online game with her friends, and she's having these moments of connections with her classmates as they play these social deduction games, which can be a really fun way to get to know people when you're having to deduce whether or not someone's lying. That's like knowing someone to a whole new level. Of course, Tadano has her spot on in the game because Tadano's dating her. He knows her quite well, and he can tell when Komi's lying, but he has to convince everyone else when Komi is lying versus when Komi isn't lying. That part where she's playing online games with her friends with her new smartphone takes up the largest portion of the middle of the book. Then we have the last section of the book, which is actually what's depicted on the cover, which is Komi going into a little bit of an emergency meeting, just her hanging out with her female friends and them asking questions about her relationship and how she thinks about it and how she's going to go to the next steps with Tadano, which at this point just is kissing Tadano because they're in high school. And clearly they're taking things quite slow. So the whole last point is just her hanging out with her female friends and talking about these sort of things. This is the emergency meeting page. So I think that kind of covers the main plot points. There are little smaller scenes throughout the entire volume, of course, that cover other characters. There's some cheerleaders who go to a soccer game. They're not official cheerleaders, just fans who go to a soccer game. Other moments throughout, but those are the main plot points. Now we're going to get into my thoughts on this volume and how I felt about this volume. So Komi Can't Communicate has had a hit or miss approach, I would say, the last couple volumes. I felt like 25 was particularly weak, but then 26 wound up being okay. So I was like, okay, we're bouncing between a weaker volume and a stronger volume. That's understandable. We're 27 volumes in, so some volumes aren't going to be as strong as the other ones. So I was a little nervous going into 27 to see how the author would handle this. I felt like that first part where Komi was getting the smartphone, I felt like this could be an improvement. So I did like that first section. I do feel like the author spent way too much time in that social deduction game. I did not think it needed to take up that much space. I feel like sometimes the series shines more when there's fewer people involved in a scene. So when there's not 15 or 20 people involved like there was in this online game, but when there's a smaller number, I feel like that's when the author's writing really shines through. So I did feel like maybe having so many people playing that online game kind of kept it stressful, or for me, I felt like that wasn't the strongest point in this volume. However, this volume for me, I did like, and I think a lot of it comes down to that last scene where Komi's hanging out with her friends. And I think I liked it so much because it felt so believable. It's like, yes, I remember doing this with my friends. I remember having little emergency meetings or talking about your relationships with each other, with your other female friends, or asking your friend who was in a relationship questions. Like, all of this feels very familiar and very relatable, even if it's something that I guess adults don't do. I think most adult women who remember their teenage years remember doing things like this, remember doing things that occurred in this last section down here. So I felt like this section I really enjoyed, and I really liked this last section. It was relatable. It was a little bit of nostalgia. I just really liked it. I feel like that last section kind of saved the volume, helped bring the volume come all together. So I really liked that the author included that section, and I feel like that's where, sections like that is where you can really see the author's strong writing come through. You can tell that the author has a gift for writing these scenes, and again, I think these volumes shine more when there's fewer people involved in each scene. So when we have a smaller number of characters involved in each scene, I feel like the scene is better. When many people start getting involved, I feel like that's where the author kind of has a little bit of a weakness when it comes to writing these scenes. That's just my personal opinion, but overall, I think especially because of that last scene, this volume did come together and I did wind up enjoying it. If you've been reading this series and have read volume 27, please let me know what you thought about this volume. I would love to hear it. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.